Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick and Scarlet Fu, when we're counting you down to the closing bell, and here to help take us beyond the bell. It's our global simulcast. I'm pleased to say we are joined by Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec. We welcome our audiences across Bloomberg Television, radio, as well as on YouTube and Quick Take. Carol, interesting week here.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in terms of the magnitude of the moves, but certainly a lot of repositioning.
Yeah, absolutely. Good way to say it. And a lot of kind of movement all around the place as we move to that repositioning, if you will, even on in today's trade. We just talked with Aaron Kennan over at Clear Harbor Asset Management, and he's really watching the next couple of months and the next couple of quarters when it comes to data sets. And he says we're going to see a very different data set. Not sure if it's going to clearly say we are in a recession or whether or not it's just an extreme slowdown. So TBD, but nonetheless, that's what he's keeping his eye on.
Yeah, he said make sure not to, pay too much attention to a day like today where we got low volume, Scarlet. It's the Friday before a holiday week, so don't read into it too much. But building off of what Carol just said, in addition to what happens with, NBER data or data that could indicate whether or not we're in a recession, look at what happens in China over the next few months, whether there is some sort of relaxation of COVID-0. That's really important to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I'm looking at volume since you're saying don't read too much into what's been going on. And we are well below the 3-month average, 24% below the 3-month average right now when it comes to volume. And there's still a minute to go, so we're definitely not going to make up the difference here. You wonder if this is going to be the template for the next week and maybe the week after that as well, because everyone's waiting for the next data point.
Yeah, when you look all across the state tapes here in the U.S., I mean, we're right now about 16% below, 24% on the S&P 500. And keep in mind, of course, the week of Thanksgiving is a traditionally low volume week. In fact, the Friday after Thanksgiving, typically the second lowest volume day of the year. You hear the people cheering, you hear the people clapping here are your closing bell numbers coming out of New York. The Dow Jones Industrial Average higher by 0.6%. The S&P 500 higher by 0.5%. The NASDAQ Composite only higher by 0.1%. And the Russell 2000, I think I got that right, and the Russell 2000 going to finish the day higher by about 0.6%.
I mean, call it close there. If I look at the S&P 500, a little bit of a deeper dive into it. We're going to get into the industry groups in just a moment, but more of the names in the S&P are higher today, 388 to be exact, Scarlet, 115 to the downside. So a little bit, if you could say, maybe even more than a little bit, of a risk-on trade when it comes to the S&P 500.
Is it a risk-on trade? I look at utilities, and they're the best performers in the S&P 500 on the day, up by better than 2%, with all 30 members higher. Healthcare equipment and services also doing well. So you've got two groups that are up at least 2% right now. A bit of a stealth increase at the end of trading. But again, as Tim mentioned, we can't read too much into it, given the low volumes, given the options expiration. There might be a lot of back and forth, a lot of repositioning, closing out positions, setting up new positions going on underneath the sector groups. Energy, the big losers on the day, down 0.9%. I'm
just going to say, Scarlett, there's more green than red there.
This is true.
All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers in today's session. WOA, Ross Stores was up 18% at its highs today, finishing the day with just under a 10% gain. It was the #1 gainer in the S&P 500, top of the NASDAQ 100 as well, soaring the most, I think, about 2 years. They boosted their full-year profit forecast. Analysts saying the off-price retailers report significantly better than expected. They did, though, note that macro uncertainty continues to negatively impact consumer sentiment and demand. So just putting that out there. But nonetheless, investors rushing in big time. Another retailer, The Gap, also outperformance, up 7.5% in today's session, rallying today. It was up almost 11% at its highs, though. It posted third-quarter sales and profit that beat estimates that were out there. You had a lot of analysts also hiking their price targets on that name. And then, Romaine, you mentioned this. I thought this was just kind of a cool one to mention. Grindr up 514% at its highs, up 213% by the close here. Of course, the online dating app for the LGBTQ plus community went public via a SPAC that happened last night.
And it's interesting, too. I mean, obviously, a lot of people would make a joke here about Grindr, but we talk about risk appetite in this market and the fact that we haven't seen too many new issues come to market, whether it's through IPOs and certainly not through the more speculative vehicle of SPACs.
It's a $1.2 billion market cap.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal.
All right, you got the gainers, Carol. I'm going to dig into the decliners. Tesla, once again, weighing on the S&P 500. Shares down 1.6% today, but it's the longer term that I'm interested in. Shares down 20% since that deal for Twitter closed for Elon Musk, because he continues to try to wrest control of the company. We talked to Kurt Wagner earlier about the troubles that he's facing with getting employees to actually work on the product there a little earlier in our program today. Carvana finishing the day down by more than 3%. The company said it will eliminate 1,500 jobs, which amounts to roughly 8% of the workforce. Carvana is down by 98% from its all-time highs.
I don't understand that. Are they still selling cars?
I mean, that's like a complete wipeout.
The concern is that there's this slowdown in the used car market, but it's got to be bigger than that. It's wiped out almost, 98% of its value. It's pretty wild to see that. And then got to end with Live Nation, finishing it down by close to 8% today. Taylor Swift did make her first public comments on the bungled pre-sale. She didn't mention Ticketmaster. Live Nation is, of course, the parent company of it. She said that it was excruciating to watch mistakes happen with no recourse.
She said bad blood, right?
She didn't say that. She did not.
Did Taylor move the market then? Did Taylor Swift move the market?
No, it was the New York Times report about the DOJ investigation into Ticketmaster.
Oh, okay. So in other words, Taylor moved the market. Taylor, look, we're all Swifties now, and I just want to go. I do want to go to yields, but just real quick, I do want to point out Carvana. Actually down 32% of the week. That's the worst performer in the Russell 1000 on this week.
And we're going to talk about that later, too.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the bonds.
Okay, I got to start coming to these meetings. Let's take a look here at what's going on in the yield space, because it was interesting moves here. The 2-year yield started to float back higher as a lot of people now starting to reassess that Fed pivot that the Fed never said they were going to pivot. But 7 basis points here on the day and 19 basis points on a weekly basis. What I think is interesting, though, Scarlett, is that big move in the 2-year. Nothing on the 10-year, 3.8195. That's basically where we were last Friday. Similar story on the 20, similar story on the 30. So most of that move now coming at the short end of the curve, and that means deeper inversion that we're seeing on that 2s, 10s, and some of the other key metrics here. Something to keep an eye on. Right. The big question is, what is the bond market pricing in? Is it just the Fed rates, or is it something more when it comes to recession in the economy?
Why are we so obsessed with pivot? Why not just pause? Why don't we take it one step at a time?
I don't know. You know, they parse it. Do you think they just have like a thesaurus that they put out on the table there at the Eccles building, and they just flip through it and try and figure out the best,
but they never said
most
pivot,
confusing
right?
Transitory is crossed off now. Soft landing is crossed off. They're not allowed to use
Pivot is
those.
like a big circle with an X through it.
No way. Pivot. We shouldn't even be talking about a pivot. We have no idea how long they're going to keep rates high.
But that's basically what they've given us for a while. I feel like they've been kind of spoon feeding it to us.
Well, I mean, speaking of all this, guys, just to kind of push ahead next week, we do get Fed minutes, believe it or not, on Wednesday. So we'll get maybe a little more insight. I don't know. So you never know with these Fed minutes.
Wait,
sometimes it's nothing.
The turkey will be in the oven then. Okay?
Yeah. Do you think the phrase sufficiently restrictive level for some time will be in the Fed minutes?
I do.
I think so. It seems to be a common refrain here. But we get that. You did get some economic data. I think some home sales data.
Some earnings.
Earnings as well. So there is still a better read on the economic picture. And then, of course, there's all the focus on Black Friday and what that means for consumer spending. Carol, do you go out on Black Friday?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I do so much online. No, I stay away. I think it's too crazy. But you're absolutely right? Consumers, we say it a million times, so important to our economy, whether or not they're going to be out in full force. We're all going to be parsing over the activity on Friday and through the weekend. And into Black Monday, which is now Black Tuesday, which is now
Cyber Monday.
Black Monday.
Cyber Monday.
Carol.
Sorry.
Does that matter, though? Everybody's already started their sales already.
I already bought Christmas stuff.
What did
you get us? Candles. I think that's what we discussed
yesterday. Fizzy balls.
In all seriousness, I think of all the data we get next week, to me, the most important will be the real-time credit card data around what happens on Friday. And then Adobe's also really great with what's going on online with Cyber Monday. And Cyber Monday really starts, on Thursday night at this point. So getting an understanding of what consumers are doing and the way prices are falling, or really if there is, we're seeing that pressure kind of taken off in some of these. We're seeing inventories move higher in some areas too.
I'm excited to see what company comes out with bad news, because next week would be the time to bury it, to release it at Wednesday at 4 p.m. when no one's paying any attention.
No, I'll be working. I'll be paying attention.
Well, okay, Romaine will get you covered for that.
I'm working too, Romaine, so we can
Carol.
commiserate together.
Yeah,
silent right now.
Tim and I are going to be off.
Somebody's got to support the network. I'm just going to say.
Carol.
No, but if you're going to get a name like Deere, I feel like this is always an interesting team in terms of agricultural, whether companies are committing to pay thousands of dollars for some of their equipment. That says a lot about the economy.
And Deere's been pretty resilient, too. Obviously, we know they have a big link to China and the home building or construction building over there, as well as agriculture. Be interesting to see how that holds up.
Yep.
All right. I'm thinking about turkey. All right.
Okay. Well, have a go. Good.
It's
wherever
Friday.
you're going. I don't know. Are you biking to wherever you're going?
Will not be
Always.
doing any biking. Too cold.
Too
you know?
cold.
Yeah, headed to Cincinnati. Looking forward to it.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
All
where
right,
my wife's family
we're
is.
done. We're
Okay.
done. I'm ready for the weekend. All right, it's pizza time.
Yeah.
Bye,
All right,
guys.
have a good weekend, guys. That
I
is
joke
a
about Cincinnati.
wrap.
We have to go?
That is a wrap for our cross-platform coverage. Radio, TV, YouTube, also on Bloomberg Quick Take. Have a good weekend. We will see the gang same time, same place on Monday.